it been? How's the festival coming along?
Well, it's great. It's great. So this session right now is being streamed live on the website, so people can also follow there. So
Oh,
uh, just in case you're not seeing so many people here, people are also watching it live on the website.
oh, okay, okay. All right then. So can I start to share my screen? Ready?
Uh,
Hi,
okay. So
Roya.
do you think we should start immediately, or you want to give some time for maybe like 10 people to join
Okay,
in
okay.
before we?
All right then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay
it'll
then.
be
What you
nice
could
to have
what you
some
could
more.
do in the meantime is
Okay.
just if
So
you
four
could just
fifty.
like a summary of what we're going to expect at the session.
I can barely hear you. Sorry.
What Stanley
Yeah,
was saying is if we could give us a recap of what we're about to expect in the session.
Oh, okay. Well, the nitty gritty of what it feels like or what it means to invest to present your pitch to potential investors, potential executive producers, as the case may be. Um, Things that you should not miss if you want them to give you a green light when it comes to funding your film project. Basically. Can you hear me? Tell me you can hear me, Roy. I can see your face. It's looking like you're struggling to hear what I'm saying.
You said something about what to expect from filmmakers when you're pitching your film. Is that what you said?
No, no, I said what to present to film to investors.
Okay.
Yes. But you could hear me clearly, yeah?
you're loud and clear, Folasade.
Yes, I
All
think it
right
was a
then. All right.
one word that
But
I missed.
how's it been? Is this just a virtual? Is this the only virtual presentation you're having today? Or
Oh
you've
yes,
No,
had?
today's all virtual, but yesterday was all live and it was fantastic. And
Oh, nice.
I was just telling the people in the session before the Q&A session we had before that I wish we could do a live day every day, even though we're hybrid, because the
Okay.
energy is just in uncomparable. Is that the word? Uncomparable, the word. And
So what do you mean? I didn't get that. You prefer the physical event to the virtual? Is that what you're
I'm
saying?
saying that going live should. Unfortunately, this year it's replacing some of the days, so not every day we're live. But when we are live, the energy is just crazy and fun and so great that you can't relive that on a
Oh,
virtual
nice.
screening and whatnot. And it's
Mm-hmm.
different watching a film with people than by yourself. So though we're watching films to educate
Yeah.
ourselves and to see what the world is doing,
Yeah.
it's still a much stronger experience when you're watching it with other people. You can
Mm-hmm.
exchange your thoughts about the film
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Festivals should stay
It
okay,
is
because
what
Folasade,
it is.
I think we can start now. People have already joined on the website. So we're watching this call. We can start now.
Oh, we can start now.
brilliant.
Alrighty. So I'm going to share my screen right about now. Are people allowed to ask questions? What's the format like?
It's your
Yeah, I think you start first, and then there will be a time when
Okay, when
you
I
will
want to ask
entertain the
questions.
questions. Yeah. So I'll leave
All right.
run the rest of the session with you now. Thanks.
Okay then.
okay. Thanks, Stanley.
Let me see if you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
All
Just a
right.
little tip to everyone. If you can only see part of the screen, go to view options at the top on the right, press that little arrow and click fit to window. And then you should see everything.
So, Ray's talking to me.
I was telling the other people on the session that if they're having trouble seeing the full screen, sometimes the view options are set to 50% or 200%.
Yeah.
Just go back to the options and click fit to window. And they should be fine.
Uh-huh. All right, then I guess I have the floor now. Hello, everyone. My name is Folasade Adu, like ADU, like Shadi Adu, the famous Adu. I always get that kind of reaction anytime I have to introduce myself. Fortunately, the name sticks with me forever. Okay, so my name is Folasade Adu. Like I mentioned earlier, I work with the production team at Film One Entertainment, and I'm here to talk to us about pitching your films to potential
Bishop,
investors.
I'm honored, sir. I'm honored.
Sure.
Sorry, Ekinde, if you could please mute yourself.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, so it's a film pitching workshop, and if I get correctly, some persons are supposed to be pitching their films to potential investors tomorrow, if I'm correct, Monia. And at this juncture, let me just say I wish everybody well. I try my best to, give you all the juices, all the ingredients that you would need to make an amazing film meal. And please, anytime you feel that you need clarity in anything, feel free to stop me, and I'll gladly go back and carry you along. Okay, so I'm going to start off with I wanted to do a transition, but I wasn't so sure what's going to be like doing it virtually so that I don't drag the slides. But just let me know if it's fine. Okay, so now, first thing first, you need to own your work. Permit my French, but the truth is, you need to own your work and sell it confidently. You need to own it. I mean, it's your work. You want to make profit. You want it to be commercially viable. So you need to own it like it's yours. I mean, own it like you're selling it to you. I hope you get that. Own your work, sell the L out of it. Now, the first thing that you need to do is, if I'm going to stop at this slide, I think that I'll be doing a great job, because this is about the basic things, the basic qualities that you need in pitching to potential investors. Number one is you have to be very confident. Like, wear your confidence on your sleeve, wear it all over you, in your appearance, in your look, in your poise, in how you articulate your words. You need to show that you're confident, and then you're confident enough to part away with their money. Okay, and talking about confidence, I'm going to link it up with showing preparedness. It's one thing to be confident, and it's one thing to be blabbing your words. It's one thing to be confident, and it's one thing to sound like you're unsure of what you're actually saying. You know, I mean, if I'm an investor and I'm listening to you telling me about your movie project that you want me to put my money in, I would think that you're not serious, or you're taking me for a ride at that point. So I would advise that in your confidence, show that you're actually prepared for the task ahead. And of course, you have to put your best foot forward. Put your best foot forward. And this is not a time where you want to, I mean, this is the point where you want to cross your T's, you want to dot your I's. This is not the time where you want to assume that, oh, let me leave this part. Oh, this side is not so important. Oh, they might not really need this. Is this necessary for me to add to this slide? Do I need to say this in the presentation? Do I need to let them know this? Of course, yes, you need to let them know everything. Of course, in letting them know everything, you need to be mindful, and know how far would be too far. Because I mean, it's still your idea, and then you don't want a situation whereby you put your ideas out there, and then you find out that people take your ideas and run with it without putting you in the mix. Of course, you have to know where to draw the line, and this is where wisdom would come in. But in doing that, also ensure that you're putting your best foot forward. Now, you need to prepare for likely questions, and this your preparation for likely questions tells how well you've done your own work. So just think outside the box. If I were in this investor's shoes, what are the probable questions they would ask me? Have I gone the long mile in ensuring that I have all my resources? Have I gone the extra mile ensuring that I have all the answers to all the questions that I'm most likely going to be asked? Have I done my research? Have I asked people who have done this kind of work before, what kind of challenges did they experience? These are the kind of questions that your potential investors will ask you. What kind of questions are they going to ask you? Am I ensuring that I'm putting my best foot forward? Have I done an adequate research? Have I put in adequate resources? Am I confident enough to show that I can part away with their money and give them return on their investment? Have I prepared myself so much so that they are in awe, in my delivery? I hope you get that. If I end with this slide, I think that we're doing a good job, because this slide, you know, it sums up everything that's going to happen in subsequent slides. So own your work and sell the hell out of it. So I move to slide 2. Of course, before I move on, we can see the pictures of famous movie makers, movers and shakers of Nollywood industry here. I don't know how clear you can see. The first person here I have is Kemi Adetiba. I have Nia Kimolayo. I have Mo Abudu, and of course I have my boss here, Moses Babatope. Of course, when you look at these people and the caliber of works that they do, I'm sure you can see all of these qualities. I mean, these are people who have made highest grossing movies in Nigeria across all levels. These are people that you see have partnerships in international community. Of course, because you can see their confidence, you can see their preparedness, and it shows in the outputs that they give in their film works. I hope you get that. Okay, so I move on. After I've crossed my T's, dotted my I's, now we boil down to what the big picture is. Now the big picture here is talking about the film, the project that I want to get involved with, the project I want people to fund. What's the big picture? And then when you're looking at the big picture, there are certain qualities, there are certain features that you need to bear in mind when you're looking at the big picture. So I'm going to go right into it. Let me be sure that you can still see my slides. Still good to go. Hello.
Yeah, we can see everything. Everything's about it.
All right then. Okay. So I'm talking about the big picture. There are certain things that you need to bear in mind. First off, no, this is not even according to the order, but these are like major key elements that you need to bear in mind when you're thinking about the kind of project you want to do, the kind of project that you want to pitch. So let's look at your log lines. The truth is, when you're talking about log lines, the basic things that you need to bear in mind. Oh, there's this distorting noise. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's look at this one from. I mean, even without talking about the title of the movie, let me just go ahead to read it. Two star cross lovers fall in love on the maiden voyage of the Titanic and struggle to survive as the doomed ship sinks into the Atlantic Ocean. I've done an animation. I should have done something where I would have asked you what movie comes to mind when I read this logline. I'm sure one or two persons would have guessed right and said Titanic. Yeah, I mean, straight to the point. You're not guessing. You're not trying to think. Okay, yeah, two lovers. I mean, they're like the main protagonists of the story. The main crux of the story. They fall in love, and then you have the anticlimax where they're trying to survive, and all of that. So it tells you, very succinctly what your story is all about, without going all and then losing them at the end. And then for your summary, you have to ensure that your summary is very powerful. Of course, some school of thought always tilt towards, okay, yeah, you have your script already, and then putting your script format in a prose style. I don't know if you get that. But to be honest, sometimes not all the investors will have that time to read 50 pages, 100 pages of your story, in one sitting. So you have to ensure that the summary of your story is very concise, is very captivating, is very powerful. And I put it here and I said the aim for the investor, the executive producer, the person funding your film is to like your summary enough to want to request the whole script. You know, 2, 3, 4 page maximum should do. Of course, when you're being asked for more, that's already like a green light. You can go the extra mile and make it more lengthy. For starters, you have to ensure that, I mean, if you already have difficulty in doing a summarized version of your project, it already tells that there's something that you need to work on. You know, at this point, this is where you need to learn your elevator pitches, where you're meeting somebody along the way, along the 2 3 minutes, you be able to tell your film fund individual that, okay, this is what my story is about. This is that. This is that. I mean, Jack and Jill went on the hill, to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down, broke his heel, and Jill came climbing after, that kind of thing. I mean, I told the story. I mean, you have the protagonist, you can tell the conflict of the story, and then you can see how it ends. And of course, without mincing words, your movie title. Your title has to be catchy. Your title has to be like easy to remember. And if I may add, you need to look at the audience, the cinema audience you're looking at, the space that you're going to be playing such movie. I mean, there's some movies, if I may say, Americanized, that might not really work here in the African context. So you need to be very mindful. And if I may say, at this juncture, you want to make money, and at the same time you want to ensure that your movie is popular for the right reasons. People know your movie for the right reasons. People are talking about your movie and they don't need to really think so far, think for so long to be able to remember your title. I'm sure if I ask anybody here, top gross Nollywood movies that we have currently, to the top of your mind, you won't even struggle so long to remember. I don't know if there's anybody here who would want to make an attempt. Popular movies that, of course, like the 100 million mark here in Nigeria. Africa, if you want to increase the stretch, but let's deal with Nigeria now. Anybody, you can unmute yourself. Just tell me catchy titles that you remember. Even if, I mean, it's not like the mark, it's not like the 100 million mark or the highest gross movie, but some movie that you're like, wow, this is a very good movie, and you remember the title. Or some movies that you went to watch in the cinema because the title was very catchy. I'd like to hear your thoughts now. Anybody?
I think Akinde wants to say something.
Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
good afternoon. Yeah, I know of Merry Men, then Sugar Rush.
Merry Man, Sugar Rush, fantastic. Every other person would agree with you. Does anybody also want to try? Merry
Of
Man,
course, there's the wedding party.
of
There's
course, wedding party.
We're
And
just
then
talking about Nigerian films, right? Or
yes,
we
of
can talk
Nigerian
about
films.
other films as
Nigerian
well.
films. Let's talk about just limited to Nigerian films. Okay. Okay, so we have the highest so far, Omogeto. I mean, ghetto is like the Nigerian slang. You talk about ghetto means the slang area. I mean, that's catchy. If I go to the suburbs of Nigeria and tell them Omogeto, I'm sure that they would remember, because that's like the grassroots. They would remember, yeah, Omogeto. We have King of Boys. I mean, these are regular slangs that you hear on the streets, and those are things that you want to play around with. When, I mean, you don't want to have very, very long titles. That one is very difficult to sell. Two is very difficult to distribute. You have issues with ancillary. You have to go on and on trying to convince them what the movie is all about, because your movie has already failed at the title stage. I'm sure you don't want that for yourself. And of course, you need to also understand the genre of your movie. Is it going to be a drama? Is it going to be comedy? Is it going to be a sitcom? Is it going to be a reality show? Is it going to be a documentary? In this part of the world, not very few people are trying their hands on sci-fi. So if it's a route that you want to go through now, of course, you need to do an adequate research. So whatever, I mean, this is what I need to say this. Whatever genre that you want to look at, of course, nothing is impossible. But you need to look at the context, the country, the space you're working in. Are we ready for this kind of movie? Are we ready for this kind of storyline? You also need to consider the boards, the National Film Censors Board that we have across. I mean, is this something that they want to buy into, especially when you're tilting towards political drama? You have to be very careful. Is this something that they want to buy into? Is this something that would not give me a tough time when it gets to the cinema? We don't have issues with with directors, director generals of the Nigerian Film and Censors Board. We don't have issues with the political party in the system currently. But I have people with certain religious groups. So these are the kind of things that you need to also, consider very carefully. If very recently, I don't know if you heard the news where the Nigerian Film and Video Censors Board brought out a news that with the kind of poster you're going to do for your movie, and even in the film itself, you have to be mindful that you don't want people smoking in the movie, you don't want people dressed very scantily, you don't want people drinking. So these are the kind of things that you need to pay attention to. Like, okay, this step I'm about to make in this movie, is this something that's going to raise a red flag at the end of the day? So you need to be very, very, very careful. I mean, this is a point where you need to ask a lot of questions. What's the trending news now? Is this fly? Ask questions. Ask your family. Ask your friends. What do you think about the title of this movie? Read the log lines to them. Give the summaries to people who wish you well. Read the summary to them. Ask them about their thoughts. Modify when necessary. Modify your log lines when necessary. Ask them title. Ask a random person. If I advertise this movie to you with this kind of title, is this something you want to go and watch in the cinema? Is this something that you're curious to know? Okay, what's about this movie? I'm really interested with the title alone. So those are the kind of things that you need to pay attention to. Don't forget you can stop me anywhere, anyhow, as I move on. So I move to the next slide. Show and not just tell. It's enough to do all the talking. It's enough to sweep them off their feet in my very articulate words. Give them everything. Talk, talk, talk. Give them pictures and all of that. And then they are looking, okay, okay, where do we go from here? Okay, where do you go from here? This is the point where you need to show and not tell. Okay, so I'm going to paint different scenarios here. Uh, Imagine I'm pitching a movie to you, and I'm telling you, oh, I'm going to have 10 actors. I'm going to have, the story requires like 10 talents. I'm having 15, including extra cast. They're going to come on so days. They're going to shoot for this number of days. They're going to do that. And they're just looking, okay, again, I can't place, the facts that you're telling me. I can't place it with a picture. I mean, they're lost, compared to you have pictures of potential cast that you want to use in your project. To be honest with you, the Nollywood, industry right now, it's tilting towards numbers. People want to have what's the value I'm getting if I form this kind of project. It's about value. It's about numbers. It's about viability. It's about profitability. If I'm not getting all of these facts from what you're pushing to me, you've lost me. Now, I put all of those criteria here because one thing to consider while you're pitching is a potential cast. And of course, you have to be very reasonable. You have to consider your budget. Of course, you have very high end people, or when you put them in your movie, it kind of shakes the budget. So you're ready. Okay, I'm ready to pay this amount of money for this individual. Am I ready? What if what's the alternative for God? What can I part with? Who else is capable of delivering the same role at the best amount I can offer at that time? So back to my cast. You need to show them the cast that you're looking at. What's the level of talent that they have? What kind of works have they done before? Now, because if you remember clearly, I mentioned a game of numbers is a game of value. Now, there's some school of thoughts that will tilt towards their social media engagement and vis-a-vis their talent. Now, when it comes to social media engagement, I'm sure that you don't want a situation whereby you put certain persons in your movie and then it's difficult to sell. And I'm not even. This is not a this is not me trying to undermine people who do not have high social media following or high social media engagement. No, but what I'm saying is that you need to also show them. Of course, you have micro influencers, you have the super influencers, and then you have all of those categories. But you need to show them that, okay, look at this person. This is what they have done before. Look at how they rank on the media, on the digital space. Look at the level of engagement that they have. Look at what they have done in the past movie projects that they have been involved with. So this is the point where you need to also find out the kind of talent that you're bringing on board. Including in your talent that whilst on this movie you also have to fully participate. You have to also ensure that you're selling this movie like it was your own. Sometimes you find yourself in a situation where you have certain talents involved in particular movies and you're not selling, and you're wondering, okay, why are they not 100% fully involved in this project? So these are the kind of things that you need to be very mindful of. The level of talents that you have. Of course, you have some people who are already stereotyped, in terms of, playing a particular type of role. When it comes to comedy, when it comes to being a political chief, when it comes to being a runs girl, when it comes to playing the mother figure, when it comes to playing the child actor, when it comes to playing the fighter. Of course, you have some people who already fit into that role, but as a reason of continuous acting in such kind of roles. And of course, you have some people who have a very wide range. They're very flexible and all of that. And even with those categories of people, you also need to be very careful. And this is a point where you need to do close auditioning and open auditions and all that. But this is not the time for that. Now, this is a point where you also need to show your investors the kind of talent you're bringing on board, their engagement, what works have they done before in time past, and all of that. Okay, does anybody have any question at this point? I move on. Okay, so I move on to your crew members. Apart from your cast, apart from, your crew also play a vital role in your project. I don't know if you remember the first slide or second slide I showed you. Industry filmmakers in Nigeria who are currently making waves. We have the likes of Kemi Adetiba, you have, Mo Abudu, you have Nia Kimalaya, you have Kenegiang, if I'm not mistaken, he had a session earlier. You have the likes of all of these people. And then these are people who have been involved in, making popular movies, the blockbusters that we have come to appreciate and celebrate in the Nollywood space at the moment. So these are the kind of people that you also need to look out for. Of course, there are some movies that are low budget and all of that. This where skill come in. Some people you need to give them a chance. Sometimes this is not the point where you want to play very dangerous game. This is a point where you need to show, even if they are not very popular. I'm sure they would have done YouTube films. They would have done short films. You'd have seen them do one or two things. You need to convince your investors beyond reasonable doubt that this is a very good cinematographer. This is a very good director. This is a very good AD. And all of that. You need to show their level of works, their level of skills. What works have they done before? And at this juncture, I need to say this. You also need to be very careful. There are some directors, cinematographers who are, more specialized in directing movies that are like party scenes, movies that are like drama movies that are very political. You have some directors who are very good in directing sitcoms, who are very good in directing documentaries, who are very good in doing other kinds of reality shows. So you need to know, where do you place these people. It's going to be very dicey for me to get somebody who has, his past works, but doing sitcoms and reality shows, and telling him to come and do a drama. Of course, you can try, but for a movie where I'm going to get people's money, you need to be very, very careful. They need to. There's a very popular saying: they need to show their workings. They need to show workings, show that they are actually ready to do this work. Otherwise, there might be conflict of interest between what the producer has, what the producer has in mind, and what the executive producer has in mind, what the director has in mind. There might be conflict because the crew that you brought on board are not generally, they've not really owned that space when it comes to the genre of movie that you're trying to do. Okay, remember that this side of the slide I'm talking about, I'm saying you need to show and not just tell. It's important that your potential investor knows the amount that they will be putting in, and of course you have to be very reasonable. Now this is just a sample. You also need to be very reasonable with the number of shoots that you want to do. How many day shoots? It's a 14-day shoot. Is it 10-day shoot? Is it 1 week long? Is it 21-day shoot? Is it an 18-day shoot? How much would it cost to cater for welfare, for pre-production, for the cast, for the crew? Miscellaneous, if you need to add that, your post-production, you need to add all of those factors. You need to consider all of these things while you're pushing to them. And of course, you need to also defend it. Why would I have to spend 9 million naira, for instance, on welfare? Why can't I spend 5 million naira? So you need to also defend that. Okay, you can tell them, okay, hospitality, you need to be feeding those people morning, afternoon, and night. You need to give them, brunch. You need to get them energy drinks when they're on the move. You need to, factor in all of this thing. And of course, you also, one key factor here is you need to be very reasonable. You don't want to, especially if it's somebody that is not new in the acting Hollywood space and is wondering, okay, I funded something similar, this kind of movie, and I spent this kind of amount. You need to be ready to defend that. You can tell them, oh, this kind of movie have this kind of stuff. They shot for the so number of days. However, my own kind of movie, this is a difference. This is why the budget is this amount. This is why it's shooting a little over what you had in the sage and all of that. So you need to factor that in, and of course, you need to be very, very reasonable. Okay, your unique selling proposition. You need to be very mindful. And I'm sure you've heard this famous saying that there's nothing new. To be honest, there's nothing new. You only find modified stories, modified ideas. From other people's stories, even if it has not been acted before, there will always be, an element of it has been done before. To be very honest, so what am I bringing to the table? What makes my stand out? One movie that comes to mind now is The Wedding Party. For instance, we see. I'm sure a number of us have attended a couple of Nigerian parties before, Nigerian wedding parties, and we see all of the drama, and we see all of the drama that happens, that occurs in such ceremonies. And then when you're watching the wedding party, you will find some elements of some of those things. Some people who come to the party when they are not invited. You see some people trying to hoard food. You see some people trying to overdress, beyond this, more than the celebrant. You see some people trying to be very unruly. You see some people coming late because they want to be like a show stepper, that kind of vibes. So, and everybody could relate with that. And Nigerians are happy people. They want something that would take them off the political, ups and downs that we're currently facing in the country. So giving them a happy movie that would ring a bell, that would make them feel like relate with, is a plus. So that's a unique selling proposition. Especially when you're not relating to people, outside of the country. You've not been home in a long while, and then they're seeing like a Nigerian party film, wedding party film. I'm like, oh, and then it makes them remember, home. We can go on and on and on and on. We can see Oloture with I can't remember the director now. I mean, prostitution and all of this, child trafficking, molestation challenges are major things that we're currently dealing with in the country. I mean, bringing that to the spotlight, you can, put your investor that this is one, we can use this film as a tool to, change certain perspective when it comes to nation building, when it comes to ensuring that people's rights and privileges are protected. We can see all of this too. So there are so many, unique USPs that you can offer. You can tell your investors, that will be able to, strike a chord with them. So you need to be very mindful and you need to think through the thought process. At this juncture, I need to mention that while you're preparing your film, while you're preparing to, I don't know, pitch your project, you need to think of the end goal in mind. Think the end from the beginning. What do I want to achieve by the time this movie is being, is being put out there? What is it I want people to talk? What do I want people to say about this movie? What's that one thing that people should say when they think about this movie? When people are watching the cinema, what's the cinema experience I want them to have? So when you're thinking about all of these experiences, when you're thinking about all of these feedbacks, when you're thinking about this thought process, it helps you in fine tuning all of the things that needs to be fine tuned. It helps you to fine tune your USPs. If you don't have that end goal in mind, to be honest, it affects your production. It affects the feedback that you will not likely be comfortable with at the end. I hope. Okay, so let me also say this that, like I mentioned, nothing is new. People are just modifying ideas. People are telling other people's stories. So you need to also tell them what makes yours different. What makes yours different? So move to the next slide. You need to show them your numbers. You need to show them your numbers. And this is where your marketing, your strategy needs to come in. Apart from I've done all the movies, dotted the I's, crossed the T's, what is it for me as an investor? What am I getting out of this? Put all the funds, supported you, with the little way that I can. How do I get my refunds? How do I get my profits? How do people, do I want people to keep talking about this movie? Do I want people to keep watching this movie? What's it for me on the long run? So we need to consider the cinema release, the limited release as a nationwide release. You need to break it down for them. Or this is the number, state facts, state statistics. If it's going to be a limited release, why is it going to be a limited release? How much are the tickets going to be sold for? Is it going to be a nationwide release? How many cinemas are you looking at? How many cinemas are going to watch this movie? What states? What part of the country are they in? How much do I think I invested? And of course, you have to be very factual. How much do I invested is going to make from the cinema if I have to, if I take this movie to the cinema? How much money am I going to make? Do I need to do a private screening? Do I need to do a advanced, opening? Do I need to do all of that? This is where your PR comes in, your strategy comes in. You see movies where they do premieres, they do watch parties because they're trying to, make noise about the movie. So you need to also tell your investors, this is the work I'm putting in, where you're going to get your money back. Your ancillary, when you're talking about ancillary, you're talking about it's a form of distribution. You talk about VODs, like the video on demand platforms. You talk about in-flight. You talk about schools. You go to, I know with currently at Filmone, it did that with mechanic, where you went to schools, universities to go and show them the movies. With prophetess, with no, not near currently at Filmone, with Ni Akimolai, it did that with prophetess, where you went back to the base where it shot the movie, played the movie at the village setting there. All of these things just to increase word of mouth, increase the popularity of the movie. Imagine flying on international flights. Of course, would have made a deal with them, ensure that your contracts are properly signed, and I'm watching a movie. All of these things would make the investor happy and glad. Okay, you're bringing it home now. Of course, you have to show them that you're actually going to do this. Of course, you have the sponsorship part of it. So you have to also be very strategic with the kind of sponsors that you're bringing aboard your movie. What kind of sponsors am I bringing on board? Do they have the same messaging? You know, and I'm gonna do a movie about let me see. Okay, movie that comes to mind now. Uh, I mean, for a movie like Omogeto now, which is a very grassroots movie, you have to use a sponsor that that deals with everyday things. Everyday things, everyday things. It could be the soap, it could be uh, the hair. What attachments. I mean, you should see people who are very grassroots. They do a lot of colored hair, do a lot of this. We need to really think very deeply. Okay, they're going to do colored attachments. I don't know if you've seen lush hair, you have darling hair, you have all of those things. You need to think, okay, how do I approach these guys? How can I ensure that they're going to buy into this movie? So you need to think outside the box. So beyond the investors' money, beyond all of those things, I'm going to get money as well from the sponsors. I mean, you can approach government parastatals. You can approach. I mean, the list is unending. And of course, you have private screenings. You have people who do not want to come into cinemas. You can approach them and say, okay, I want I don't want public. I want my space. I mean, so many cinemas and so many avenues to have that worked on. You can approach them and tell your investors, of course, you have to charge them higher because they are not with the rest of the public. And then it's almost like a VIP treatment. You get things extra. They are very comfortable. And then you can tell your investors, of course, I'm going to get money from this means as well. So it doesn't end here. Your nationwide cinema release, your ancillary, your sponsorship, your private screening, and the list is endless. You need to think outside the box. Because like I said, beyond the art, you also need to ensure that profits is being made. Okay, and then of course you need to end with the bank. Like you need to end with the bank. Like hold them spellbound and they're looking, okay, you got me here, and this can only happen if you show preparedness. If you show that, I mean, I'm confident enough, you can part with your money and I can assure you that this and this and this is going to get done and this is what's going to come back to you, you know. And then you can also make, references to other movies that have been made before. Give them dates, back with data. So movie was made this year by so person. This is how much it made. However, this is the genre of movie I'm going to make this time, and this is how we're going to tweak it a little. I can assure you that if you give me this so amount of money, this is the returns you're going to get on your investment. And you could go on and on and on like that, and you can be sure that they'll ask you for the full script, and they ask you for your account details where necessary. And then I hope with these few words of mine, I've been able to convince you beyond reasonable doubt that, it's easy to sell your movie if you have your T's crossed and your I's dotted. So any question?
Thank you so much, Ade. So I think Okay has a question here.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I just joined the group right now.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much, Ade, for this very thorough overview of what a pitch should actually include. So we mentioned the title of the movie, the genre of the movie, a synopsis, a log line, a production plan, the ROI, which is what I wanted to ask is how much of the numbers do you get into? And actually, this is new for me. I didn't know that you're supposed to have the sponsors already with you when you come to pitch for investors. I thought that that's the next step. So that's great to know. I do have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. I'll start with mine and then I would gladly allow everybody else to, let me just start the groove and everybody else can join in and ask their questions. I just wanted to know, you were talking about audience. How, can you give us like a little tip on how do you choose your audience and how well do you need to know your audience? Because I think it's a very key question also in understanding the genre of your film and how you want to take your story, especially if you're a filmmaker that's also writing the story, that's also part of the writing process. It's good to understand the audience you're going to be appealing to when you're developing your story and when you're going into details. So how do you do that? How do you approach that?
Okay, I like the fact that you said, it's you have a better advantage if you're the writer of the movie. That means you have the opportunity to do an adequate research and ask questions. So, for example, if I'm reaching out to the kind of movie that I'm making is about mothers and children. Don't forget that you know mothers and children are just they're not like the 100%. They're not the entire cinema audience that we have in the country. We also want to reach out to both genders. I mean, male, female, children. However, your target is mothers and children. You also need to look at in the companies that are sponsors or companies or products that are inclined towards women and children. You need to ensure that the language that you're speaking, and if I may say age brackets as well, what a 10-year how a 10-year-old individual will converse will differ from how a teenager will converse. You have to ensure that you're speaking their language. Is this something that they can relate with? The reason why sorry, I'm going to move back to Wedding Party. The reason why or Mageto or any of those movies, the reason why such movies made a landmark was because I could relate with it. Every typical Nigerian could relate with it. I mean, you hear slangs like everyday slangs that you would see in a wedding. Look at prophetess. When you look at people who play the betting games, the Bet Niger, and all of those things, you see them betting. You see them, trying to part away with their money. You hear certain slangs with them. You see the extra mile that they go through because they want they want the jackpot to hit. So if I'm making a movie about mothers and children, I need to do an accurate assignment. What as a mother, what's the dialogue I'm going to have with with my child? What age bracket? I have to be very careful so that I'm not confusing the audience. You know, it also affects my marketing as well. you know this is where you need to be very very thoughtful. The reels, the TikToks, am I gonna do a lot of dramas, with everyday thing. I don't know if mothers they still do the bedtime stories or whatever. You can make jokes out of that. You can make jokes about women dropping their children at school. You can make jokes about African parents. You can maybe jokes like your father is watching TV and then the TV remote control is so close to him, and then you will see them calling you from the room asking you to come and pick up the remote control. These are jokes you can play with.
A minute.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
You froze for a minute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Sorry, Shade, we lost you for a minute. Can you go back to the father thing?
Okay, so for example, you see a typical African father watching TV with a remote control right beside him, and then is asking you to come and pick it up from the room. I mean, that's a joke you can do to market your movie to reach out to the audience. I don't know if you remember Bowie's movie about village people. We hear those Nigerian slangs about my village people, and then you see how they played around with the marketing because they wanted to reach out to the audience. Every typical Nigerian right now are somewhat scared about village people, with the witches and all of that stereotype. So what you want to play around that, what will my village people do? I'm very careful about my village people. There are so many jokes you can do, and then so you just have to do your homework. You have to work with a team. You can't be isolated in that kind of space. You need to ask questions. What would you do? Have like a strategy team. Have like a marketing team. Ask your family. Ask if you're gonna do a movie about football. If you have the privilege, ask footballers. Go to the grassroots. You have clubs, the local club. Ask them what would you do in this kind of scenario. Be in their space. It's there's more preparedness when you spend more time in pre-production than the actual production itself. You do less work and then you're working at ease at that point if you have done your assignment well. I hope that I've been able to answer that question.
Thank you so much. That was very thorough. Thank you. Great ideas. Anybody else has questions? We have, I think, about 5-10 more minutes left. Guys, this is the chance you have to ask Shade as many questions as you can before the pitching platform tomorrow that Mimi from Film One will be hosting at our live event at Alliance Française tomorrow, 5:15 p.m. I hope you registered because the spaces are very limited. So, and I hope you have your pitches ready for tomorrow. Yes, Akinda, I see your hand. You've raised your hand. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
You're
I
welcome.
wanted to ask, what about cases where you just get the story, write the pitch or the synopsis and everything, but you don't have the script? How do you go about that when you get to meet these people?
Of course, more often than not, most times when you're meeting an investor, sometimes people actually do not have a script ready. So at that point, they'll ask you for a treatment. They ask you for, of course, a summary. And I don't know if you were here when I started when I started the presentation, and I said that you need to be very very concise with your storytelling at this point. That means that your protagonist, your conflict, your antagonist, how the story ends needs to be um, very concise. In other words, I can read like, 1 or 2 pages of what it is you're trying to sell to me, and I'm ready to buy into it. Do you understand? It's not necessarily cast in stone that your script has to be ready at that point, because more often than not, to be very honest with you, some people do not have their script ready at that point. So when you put your film, your summary, your treatment, if you do your homework well, and by the time you're done, the investor is asking you, okay, please, can I see the whole script? And if they want to be very, very factual with you, they would ask you, okay, how long will it take you to develop the script? And at that point, this is not the time where while you're writing your script, you're drifting away from what you originally presented. So it means that you must have done your homework with your summary and know that, okay, this is exactly what I want to do and I'm ready for it. Okay. I hope I'm beginning to answer the question.
Yes,
to be
very
honest,
well. Thank you.
not everybody has their script ready by the time they are pitching.
Wow.
They just have their summary, they just have their treatment. And if you have your script, good for you. Sometimes at the point where you're pitching, your investor is going to give you 1 or 2 suggestions. Oh, rather than the protagonist doing this, why don't you think, don't you think that they should rather do this, go this route instead? There might be tweaks, at that point. So very often you just have your summary, your treatments, and all of that, not the entire script. And if you have the entire script, all well and good.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead. Can I know your name?
Sorry, my name is Victor Okai, President Director Guild of Nigeria.
Oh, nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you. How are you?
Hi, thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, now you would have, obviously from what I've seen here, it's more like a producer's pitch, sort of. I don't know if I'm right.
Okay. Yeah.
How would you differentiate that, for instance, from a writer's pitch and the director's pitch?
Okay.
So and then, then one last question.
Yes, sir.
What would you say is the overriding quality you've seen in successful pitches? Let me not talk about the individuals now, but in the pitch itself. What is common among all the successful pitches that you have ever encountered or been involved in? What is the overriding quality or what asset or whatever?
Okay. All right. So I'll start with the director's speech.
Yes.
For a director's speech, you usually have the breakdowns, which would involve the mood, the lighting, the kind of technicalities that will be involved in the production. So for instance, if I'm going to talk about different movie scenarios and the picture quality that you have. If you see a movie like what's the movie that Kunle Afolayan did just with Temi Otedola? Name just skipped my mind now.
Citation.
Yes,
Yeah.
citation. Yes. So you see the picture quality of citation. You see the picture quality of Oloture. You see the picture quality of Omogeto. You see the picture quality of wedding party, for instance. You
The
know,
look and feel, you mean?
yes, the look and feel. That I said the mood.
Okay.
That is where the director will come in. It talks about the mood, the light. So you need to play with pictures, and then you need. Okay. So you need to, at this point, play with pictures. This is the kind of dressing I want. This is the kind of costume they're going to be wearing. This is the kind of picture quality I want to achieve. This is the kind of locations I want to use. That is where the director will come in. This is the kind of location that will drive home the messaging of this film. This is the kind of outfit. This is the kind of look and feel I want this movie to project. That is where your director's speech will come in. Because for more often than not, the director will need to, transform the message, the scripting that you have on paper into, real life. And at that point, you don't want to spend all the money in going to shoot like a 1 minute, 2 minute pilot. You need to show them in slides. You need to show them in presentation. And if you want to go the extra mile, of course, PowerPoint gives you the opportunity to also insert videos. Sometimes you might go and do a pre-production recce, show them snippets, photos, videos, and insert them in your slides and say, okay, this is what, talk to stylists. And of course, you don't even have to spend that much money. Just go online, go on Google, search for, a young woman in her 80s looking all dressed. Just search for that and it pops up. You see something that suits, the cast or the talent you want to use at that point in time. And then you're good to go with that. Now, for scripts, of course, as a script writer, you need to. This is where your treatment comes in, and it's not so far fetched from what I've done today. This is where your treatment comes in. You need to show us, the summary, the part, the log lines that you're going to use, a sample of the dialogue that's going to happen between, any of your major characters in the story. You need to show, and then you might need to show one or two pictures that, but the technical part, the mood, the lighting, the look and feel is usually that of the director. For the script writer, just show us, it can show us a 1 page or 2 page or a two-liner dialogue, show us a treatment, show us a summary, a powerful log line, establish a genre that stick to it. This is what the movie is about. It's a drama. It's a political drama. It's this. It's gonna be shot in this. Establish the age of the story. What world? What's the story world? You need to establish that in your write up. Yes. So because I work with Film One, I have access to different uh, people trying to sell their movies, their stories, their projects per time, and the kind of movies that we give green lights to are movies with powerful log lines and powerful summaries. People who have done their homework with the treatment. The director's speech might come in later after I must have okay approved the script, approved that this is a green light, good to go, and then we now start pushing for directors, and then we see what they bring and see how they've been able to interpret the messaging of the script itself. And then at that point, that's another level where we say, okay, this is good to go. This person has a picture of what I have in mind as a producer. I think this person will be able to interpret this script well. But as a filmmaker, as a producer, as a production company, as a filmmaking company, more often than not, what gives us green light and say, okay, this script is good to go is movies that have very powerful log lines, very powerful treatments, and amazing summaries. And then at that point, when we read the summary, read the treatment and all that, we say, okay, good to go. Let's see the full script. But sometimes we get some scripts and we get some treatments and then we're looking confused. And at this point, I need to say this: at the point where you're pushing your script or your film project ideas to your investor, ensure that you have something signed. Ensure that you have an NDA, at the least signed, because you don't want stories that touch at the end of the day. You don't want to sit around by you say, so person stole my story idea. This is you want to have that, legalities, that legal part sorted first before going the long haul. I hope I've been able to answer your question, sir.
Thank you
I
very
see
much.
some. Yes, sir. I see some.
I just want to say
Can I,
thank you,
can I
Shade.
ask-
I'm gonna move this the hosting to Stanley because I have to leave you guys.
Okay.
And I will see you tomorrow at the next day and on the continuous Q&A sessions tonight. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Keep the session going.
Okay, so some persons have their hands raised.
Hello?
Okay, hello.
Yeah, I was going to ask a question. I was going to just,
Our line is breaking.
yeah, so this is Stanley speaking, right?
All right, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Sorry, Shadi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I just wanted to give some advice for anyone who is doing the pitch tomorrow.
Okay.
This is Mimi speaking, head of production, Film One. So
Yeah.
something Shadi said that is very important. To be honest, because I did the last pitch one with 2 years ago, at RTF. What grabbed me first was the log line. So there are a lot of movies that didn't even submit a pitch deck, but we saw like, oh, the log line has a lot of potential and we could develop with you. So I'm not saying ignore everything Shade has said today, which is also very important. But I'm just saying that when you're coming tomorrow, like work on that log line or synopsis. That's what grabs anybody. And I think it's only Nigeria really that writers have to pitch, because abroad I'm sweating looking for writers really. But typically if it's a pitch for a writer, then you have to submit a sample. If it's a treatment or if it's even a short story, that's what people are typically looking for. So please work on your log lines and your synopsis. They're very important in your pitches. That's all I wanted to say, and see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you. Yes, Mr.
All right.
Stanley.
Good afternoon. Okay.
Was that Mr. Stanley?
No, this is Akitsune.
Okay, please go on. Go ahead.
All right. So you made mention about understanding the environment where you're making your movie, like the kind of movie they want to see.
Yeah.
So, but now I'm coming from a perspective whereby you want to make some sort of experimental movie. By experimental, I mean you're making the kind of movie that's not readily done in Nigeria. Take, for instance, Ratnik. I don't know if you have seen Ratnik. It's a Nigerian movie. Sci-fi, despoterian kind of movie. Ratnik.
No, I
Yeah.
haven't.
Okay. But what I'm saying in essence is, to me, projects like that are experimental largely because they're not our everyday kind of movie here. So if you have story ideas like that, or you have scripts like that, and you know that your potential investors or people you are pitching to would not readily absorb into that kind of storyline, how do you go about that? Should you just seek for partnership, or should you still go ahead with seeking for potential investors or sponsors? I don't know if you get my question.
So, I do perfectly. So I don't know if you remember while I was talking and I said that you need to talk about your unique selling proposition. And one of the things I said is nothing is new. What has been done before and what are you looking to do differently? And I'm very glad that you said Ratnik. So I'm going to ask you this question. How did Ratnik do?
In all fairness, I would say it was fair.
It was fair.
Yes.
So what do you mean by fair on a scale of 1 to 10?
Yeah, on a scale of 10, I'll give it a 7. Still relatively new. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you give it a 7. Now,
yeah,
what would you do differently to give it a 10 over 10? No, I mean,
I would say
I'm just giving just a random, I just want you to give me a random answer. You don't have to really tell me about right
now. Come again, please. Hello, sorry, come again, please.
Okay, I said that I don't necessarily need you to give me the correct answer. I just need you to give me an answer that makes sense, assuming that you're trying to put something similar to Ratnik to me, and you're making reference to Ratnik, and then you're saying this is an experimental movie, and I said good enough that you mentioned Ratnik, and I said okay, how did Ratnik fare? And you told me 7, and I'm saying what would you do to give it an A plus, like a 10/10, and you're putting to me, considering the fact that it has not been done, which I'm putting it back to you that there's nothing really new. It's how far are you ready to go and how far are you willing to, put all the research together to make it an A plus. So
Okay, I said it has not
let's
been
go back
done,
to
but then
Ratnik.
that's all right. I said it has not been done, but that's in relative to the Nigerian industry.
Yeah.
It's a new terrain that very few are still exploring, which I would like to explore. But now
Very
I think
good.
what I would have done a little differently, well,
Yes.
I've been maybe invest more in the CGI. Well, like I
Very
said,
good.
CGI itself, it's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty expensive, and in a country like Nigeria, where people still do buy into that, you don't want to waste too much, or you don't want to invest too much, and at the end of the day, you're not even breaking even.
Yeah.
Needless to say, you're making profits. So, like I said, is it a risk worth taking when you're pitching to investors, even though they know that look, on the long term, this might not be revenue generating.
Yeah.
So, giving yourself
So
that kind of eye up, is it too much? Or should they just seek for partnership? People who are opposing the idea that we can make money from this, we might not. This is it.
so I'm gonna give you different, examples of things that people have tried before and then they got recognized for it. I don't know if you remember during the lockdown, we had me Akumalayo do like an animated works to raise awareness for COVID. And before then, he had done Malaika animation. Now,
Yeah.
the animation the animation space here in Nollywood is not something that people are ready to do right now because it's very expensive to do animation.
Yeah.
So when you want to look at the alternative for Ghana at this point and say, okay, rather than doing a feature film, why can't I do short movie that the expenses might not be so overboard and I can manage and at the same time do a quality work. Between you and I, this is not under my the animated works that have been done so far, but for our space, we can give it a plus. Of course, we can't compare it to the Marvels, the Disney, and all of that. But for an attempt, this is good, and it has a good
Yeah.
storyline.
Of course.
You
Yeah.
understand? I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen POD, where they try to play with sci-fi related elements.
I've not seen it. I've
Have
not
you
seen it.
seen Elevators Baby, where
Yeah. Yeah.
did you see what they tried to do with the elevator, the
With the elevator.
CGI?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. At some point, we need to step out of our comfort zone to do certain things. So the question I'm going to ask you is it a risk worth taking? You don't want to involve yourself in certain projects and within yourself that you're not putting your all. And when I mean your all, you're considering affordability. You're considering, okay, what would it cost me to do like a 1 hour, 2 hour feature length animated sci-fi experimental movie, with this amount of money compared to if I channel those resources to a 10 minutes short films. At that point, I'm already carving a niche and positioning myself as a thought leader in that process. I mean, if a Disney individual, a Disney executive calls someone like me, Akimalaya, to come and produce an African-related animated movie. I mean, we will not we will not question it because he has attempted to do something, however, very short.
Certainly.
If you understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying now, what I'm saying, I'm telling you not to give up. I'm telling you not to give up. However, ensure that whatever steps that you're going to take is very reasonable, achievable, and then has an amazing story within reasonable budgets.
All right. Thank you.
Yes. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yeah, you have.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
So don't give up. Try, keep making an attempt. We need to refine, you need to refurnish, you need to ask questions, tell people to watch you. What do you think about this movie? Do you think it's something that you'll be willing to pack your money with? Is this something that you'll be able to watch in the cinema? Try it on YouTube, look at the views. It doesn't have to be the feature length, just something short, 2, 3 minutes. Look at people's response, extend it to 15 minutes, extend it to 30 minutes. And then before you know, you start positioning yourself as a thought leader when it comes to such kind of experimental movies.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, I see. I don't know, Ekende, Asta Double. I don't know your hand.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you, ma.
You're welcome.
Now, Mama, I want to ask something. Like 2 days ago, I was listening to Michael Hague from outside the States, and he said something about when these guys come for pitching, the guys who listen to them, they are paid to fetch good stories.
Yeah.
So in most cases, yeah. So I want to ask, is there a limited number? More like maybe this is the numbers we want. So even if the stories, they are good, we just have to pick from these ones that are good. Like from the one I watched, they were just looking for just one person. At the end of the day, they had confusion. Like, man, this one is good, this one is good, this one is good. They just have to pick the one that already started shooting the story. So what I'm asking, is there limited numbers like this one will come for film first and they're doing this pitching thing?
I don't think I really get that question. Is there a limited number of what?
Like, what I'm saying is this: we have like 100 persons out there to pitch. For instance, tomorrow.
Yeah.
When they come and the stories they are good, is it that you guys are looking for just two stories, or 3 or 4, or as long as the story is good, they'll take it?
Okay, I think that question is left to the facilitators. They will tell us the number.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Thank you,
I'm sure
ma.
that you get all the instructions tomorrow or probably later today. I don't have all that information right now, but I'm sure that the facilitators will get that across to you.
Okay, thank you very much, ma.
Yes, sir. Asta Dabo.
Hello.
Yes, I think I can stop sharing my screen. Let me do that.
Okay. The question I have here is how do you go about with investors who try for your story and also determine for you the kind of character, the talents that they would need in a movie? Like, how do you go about handling such investors?
So could you come again? Sorry.
My question is, how do you go about handling investors that determine the kind of talents that they would need for a particular film before they release a fund, or they try to reform your story, like trying to bring in something for you to take out something for them to bring in something? How do you go about with such kind of investors?
Okay, at this point, you need to, because it happens, you need to really apply wisdom and ask yourself, what am I willing to part with at this point? And it's not something that you can part with. You're free to walk away. Because at the end of the day, it's your story, it's your idea. And if you keep trying your luck, you will find somebody who will play to your tunes, and say, okay, whatever it is you want to do, I'm willing to go the long haul with you. But, at the same time, while the investors are trying to modify your story or modify whatever it is you're presenting, ask yourself this question. If I do this and I try to change it this way, would it affect the entire story? And even if it affects the entire story, is it for the good? What am I losing or what am I gaining? At that point, you need to put your emotions aside. And be very, very, heads on, and be very firm. Because this is an opportunity that you will not want to miss, especially if it looks like they're already giving you the green light. Ask yourself, okay, is this something I'm ready to part with? Is this something I'm willing to say, okay, that's fine, if you want to take the story, as long as I'm giving credit for it, obviously, and if it's something that you can't part with, it's something I'm saying, okay, I'll let this pass. Please feel free to walk away. I'm not sure nobody's going to be holding your neck. And sometimes it might come from a place of, advice. They might be saying something you're not saying at that point in time and say, okay, Asta, I think that if you let the conflict happen this way, it would, it'd be more, to affect the story in a more positive light, rather than going this route. So I think that's something you might need to really place side by side, pros and cons.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Hope I'm able to answer your question.
Yes. Thanks.
You're welcome. Esther.
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm Esther
Good
Kemi
afternoon.
Badamosi.
Nice to meet you,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Thank you. Well, the question I have is I actually have two questions, but
Okay.
the first one is I know that most pitching sessions now take place by emails.
Okay.
You know, most of the time you don't have one-on-ones, you know, like that. You know,
Okay.
I'm asking that, can you pitch with an existing film? You know, like you have a lengthy feature film you want to put together, and you have a short version. Can you pitch with it? You know,
Can you what?
put it
I didn't get
together.
the last statement you said.
Can you pitch with a short version of a feature? You know, just
Yeah.
make a short one, and then put it together in an email and put it across for pitching.
Okay. Yes. So Mimi just answered
Without
your
having to
question.
say, all right, okay.
Yes. I don't know if you can look at the chat box. You know, at that point, you already have the finished work. So you're
No,
looking at,
short version.
so I mean, you shot like a pilot, if I get that correctly.
Yes, yes, yes,
You shot like a pilot, and then you're playing it for the investor and telling them you want to do like a feature length.
yes.
Is that are we speaking the same thing,
Yes,
or
that's correct.
is
That's
it a short
correct.
version that you want out
Yes,
publicly?
yes, yes, yes,
Okay, so I assume that you're saying that the short version, and then you want to pitch it to the investor and telling them that you want to do a feature length out of it.
yes,
Of
yes,
course,
yes, please.
that's workable. That's achievable. I mean, if they like the story, they are willing to give their buy-ins. Of course, if you get the green light, of course, that's workable. That's very achievable. You know, I'm sure that what the only thing that comes to mind now is storybooks that gets. You know, we have things fall apart. You have half of Yellow Sun. Right now, no short film is coming to mind, but what is coming to mind now is movies and books that are being, turned into movies. People like the books, people like the stories, and then they are willing to say, investors are saying, okay, well, yes, why not? Let's do half of a Yellow Sun into a feature-length movie. Let's do things fall apart into a sitcom. You have scenarios like that, and I'm sure that with short films as well that you're looking to. Okay, we also had 50. We had 50 with Ebony Light Films, where they had done the feature length, and then they were also trying to do a sitcom with it as well. Hmm? Okay, can you
Hello?
also see me, Miss? Can you see me, Miss? Let me just read it out to you. I don't know if you can see it. So, sorry? Somebody, okay. So Mimi said, what I typically do is when I have an idea in my head, somebody's trying to say something I can't really. Asta, is that you?
Okay.
Okay, so let me read what Mimi said. What I typically do is when I have an idea in my head but can't put it down, I tell someone and they help me start making sense of it. And then the person sends my words back to me, but with a structure, then I start to build from there. I don't know if she's in your address, Esther. Where's Esther? She's gone. Hi, Esther. Okay.
I can see
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah,
All right then.
I
But I
can
don't know
see
if
it. Yes. Yes.
she's in your address. Does it really resonate with
Yes.
what you asked? So there are
Yes.
two ways.
Yes.
I mean, you have the idea, you can go this route, you already have something shot. I mean, that's also possible. Play for them. They like it and they're ready to, develop into something more lengthy. Why not if not? So
Okay. Okay. She also said I should get a letter of intent. There's the question I asked earlier, by chat. And she said I should get a letter of intent from the local distributor. Sorry, please. I would like to know who the local distributor is.
Okay, so I think she was referring to if you already have a feature-length movie and you're trying to push it to the investor or executive producer or whatever it is. So you already have the finished work already. At that point, you need to go and meet a distributor and say, "This is the movie that I have. It was shot on this," and then the distributor looks at it and say, "Okay, with this kind of movie, this is what we'll be offering," or with this kind of movie, it's a no-no from us. They're not taking it. And then distributor in this question is okay, people who serve as a go between the cinemas, the ancillaries, which is like the VOD platform, which will want to take it to probably, I mean, it goes on and on, just all about the marketing side of the movie and ensuring that you make the money back.
Okay, let me help explain further. To be honest, Shade has said everything, but your local distributor is a Film One or a Pictures or Homeland Pictures or Genesis Distribution or Silverbird Distribution. So you can meet any of them and say, typically people have, they use scripts. Well, in like developed countries, they use scripts to get letter of intent. But in Nigeria, just as script rarely goes from script to great execution on screen. So people usually prefer to see the finished work. But like if people hadn't ruined it for others, because that's how it started, you would typically take just your script and the distributor will read it and say, okay, I'll give you a letter of intent for this. But to be honest, we still kind of give, but it's just based on like a log line, and we say that we would distribute it if after we watch it, we see commercial value in it. But for now, your story makes enough sense for us to get an intention to eventually distribute the film. I hope that answers your question.
Esther? I hope she got that. Okay.
Hello.
Yes. Did you get Mimi's response?
No, yeah, I got it. The concern is that means you don't get the investor's commitment until the film is finished.
No, that's a discussion between your investors. What your investors want to see that when the film is completed, you already have the thought process of who is going to distribute your film, which means that distributor is the one that is aimed at making your money back for you with your efforts as a producer. So you can have it. It's simply what it is, a letter of intent. I plan on distributing this film if I like it. So an investor doesn't know the conversation you've had with the distributor. They just know that you've got a letter of intent and you already have that thought process in mind that you already have a distributor. So you're thinking...
The reason I'm asking this question is because I've gone through this process before, and I remember that I asked for something like that, and I was told that I need to finish the film, then I can get a commitment letter from the distributor, and so I saw that there was a bit of a back and forth thing, I needed to get something that I didn't have, and I could only get unless I got something else that it was. So that was the concern, So I don't know if the letter of intent, if it's something I can get before I film, then I wanted to know how do I do that? Hello.
Yeah, sorry, I don't think I got the last part of the question. Sorry.
Oh, no, I said if the letter of intent is something I need to get for the investor to finalize, how do I do that before filming? Because most of the funds are actually needed for production.
Yeah. Okay, the truth is, over 90% distribution companies will not get your movie until they see a finished product. That's for the level of distribution. Are you aware of that?
I know that. I'm 100%. It's the intent. Because I noticed that distributors don't want to write anything. They don't want to sign anything. Whether it be intent or anything else. So I'm just saying, because I know that it's easier for people with track record, it's easier, but when you don't have a track record, I am more concerned at how do you kickstart, to get the distributors to at least give you that, look, we have a letter of intention to 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 distribute your movie if it works for us.
Yeah, I mean, Esther, I think it's just more about praying at this point because I don't know, how to answer this because like people that have given letter of intent haven't had track records. So I don't know where people get this impression from and what you experienced. But I apologize for what you experienced. But I mean, the film I greenlit came from RTF, and I know that like she never had any film before, and we green. In fact, that's what I was even going to say. That please, if you're coming to pitch this thing and we say, oh, I want to work on it with you, please don't run away and say, oh, you're scared, because we experienced it the last time. So come with your full chest, if anything. But that's typically how it works. So I guess now what you're saying now boils down to the Nigerian factor is who you know. But no, it doesn't work that way. At least I know in film one, anyways, that I have been here. Maybe when I leave, you experience it. I don't know. But now,
okay,
They're very ethical.
okay, let me just finalize. So what you're saying is, if I come to you with my finished film, you would preview it.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, so it's okay. So how do I get the film across to you? Is it through email or?
Typically, you send a screener link copy, and sign, like I said, ensure that you have something signed. And then they typically ask for a screener link copy, or you send an hard drive, whatever. But I don't know, so that we don't, drag this conversation.
No, I'm sure it's helping other people too.
Okay.
Don't worry, I understand it fully. Thank you. I really do appreciate
So
this.
just send a screener link copy. You can see the email address on the website, or you just send the hard drive down to the office for that.
No, I have all the contacts. I just wanted to resolve the process. Yes.
Okay. All right then. Thank you. Hope you're clear, though.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So does anybody have any other question? It was such an amazing talking experience. So I don't know if some of us here will be pitching tomorrow. I wish everyone the best. Slide Media, do you have anything you want to say? Anybody? Before we call it a day. Okay. All right. So I wish everybody the best tomorrow. Don't forget to put your best foot forward. Don't forget to, like Mimi said, only with your chest. Don't be scared. Don't think that you're not known, whatever. As long as you have good works, you have good story, you're sure what you're presenting, don't be scared. Be confident, be prepared, prepare for likely questions if the opportunity arises. Ensure that you've done all your research, you have an adequate budget. If you're coming in as a director, like I mentioned, although this wasn't put in the slide, ensure that you pay attention to the mood, lighting, the look and feel of the story that you want to project. As a script writer, have one or two samples of your scripts, a short line dialogue that could work as well. Don't be scared. Be very confident. I mean, everybody will blow one day. So don't be scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. It's home, and I wish you all the best. Can we have the slides shared? Okay, we'll ask the facilitator. I did more of talking anyway, but if you still want that, I can share that with you. So I'll just ask one here, Stanley.
Well, the session is actually live and it's streaming on our website right now. I need to be there right after this. So anyone who wants to go back to see everything, to listen to what was discussed right after the session is done, it's already live on our website, so you can go there and watch it again. But if you guys think it's something you guys can give out, why not? You can share with us. We'll just share exclusively with those who registered for this session on our portal.
Alrighty. Thank you so much. You heard Stanley. You can go back to the website and watch the full video, and I could also share with you as well. All right, then. I think I can call it a day. Stanley, is there any other thing you want to say at this point?
I just want to say thank you. Thanks for the time. And we look forward to something amazing happening tomorrow. And someone gets the chance to prove themselves and, yeah, be in the spotlight for good reasons.
Thank you so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay.
Bye, and have an amazing day.
You too. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
So
you.
the film screenings continue on the website. So you guys just go there. You can watch all the sessions that happened. The session with Kenneth Gang was a bomb, as it just crazy. You guys will learn a lot from it. And this one also was very informative. So we're leaving all of them on the homepage. People don't even get to search for them. But again, you can go to the website, log in, and watch the amazing movies. And please don't feel about the Q&A sessions with the filmmakers who sponsor. So thank you, everybody, and see you next time.